So I'll just read the introductions that I wrote for the announcement. Allison Bender joined the Wisconsin Energy Institute at UW-Madison in 2018 as outreach and events coordinator.
Start this. Did you start the
Yes.
start the record already?
Yeah.
I guess you did. Yeah, I'm sorry.
She has a background in environmental education and has worked as a naturalist in state parks across Wisconsin and Minnesota. After completing a BA in environmental studies at St. Olaf College in 2017, she served as an AmeriCorps member in the Minnesota Green Corps program, conducting watershed outreach and education at Whitewater State Park in Minnesota's Driftless region and statewide. At WEI, Allison coordinates a wide variety of educational programming and works with scientists and researchers to translate their work into hands-on activities, lessons, and events for learners of all ages. And Dick Anderson, our other presenter, is the Wisconsin KidWind advisor. He connects with educators across the state to support instruction in wind energy and co-leads educational educator workshops. He helps organize the annual Wisconsin KidWind Challenge. The Wisconsin K through 12 Energy Education Program awarded Dick 2020 Energy Educator of the Year for his dedication to the Wisconsin KidWind Challenge. Prior to his work with KidWind, Dick was a technical education teacher at Darlington, Wisconsin School District for several decades. He started teaching his high school students about energy and power mechanics in 1972. So, Allison, if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck, for inviting us, and thanks everybody for welcoming Dick and I to your space and to share a little bit about the KidWind program. I'm going to share my screen right now. Does that look good to everybody?
Yep, got it.
Right. So we're going to be talking about the KidWind Challenge, which we together coordinate along with my colleague Scott Williams. What we're going to cover in the next hour is a little bit about what is KidWind, what's the program at a national level, how does the program operate in Wisconsin. We'll show you some examples of what happens at the annual challenge event and some examples of different teams, turbines, and what they put together in preparation for the event. And then we want to make space to have some opportunity for you all to share ideas for how IEEE might be involved, or feedback on how we can improve the program in Wisconsin or nationwide. So Chuck already gave really nice introductions, but I just wanted to pause and say, if you want to add anything about who you are or what brought you to this work.
Well, it's kind of like I have the don't say no to too many things. And when they asked me about if I wanted to learn more about the KidWind, I said, sure, let's do it. And those kinds of things make all the difference in education and the things I've learned. So it's a very worthwhile opportunity here, and it's just really worked out well.
Thanks, Dick. And like Chuck said, my name's Allison, and I'm the outreach coordinator at the Wisconsin Energy Institute, and I also work for the Great Lakes Bioenergy Research Center, which is a large a DOE-funded grant that's operated out of the Energy Institute. In case you're not familiar, the Energy Institute is located on the UW-Madison campus. This is a picture of our building. I hope that all of you can come visit us at some point and maybe take a tour of the space. We're located just about a block north of the Camp Randall Stadium, so you can see us in red here. The Energy Institute is the home for cross-departmental energy research at UW-Madison. So we've got folks doing microgrids work, folks doing biofuels, and lots of different things in between. We act sort of as a network of energy-related researchers, so not everyone who's affiliated with the Institute is actually in this building, but we kind of help connect researchers across campus. We also support outreach programs for youth and adults. It's sort of where I live in the whole Institute's operations. And then there's also some programming for college students, some certificate programs for both undergraduates and graduate students. Just a little glimpse into the outreach suite that WEI offers. We don't just do the KidWind Challenge. We also have field trips and after-school events, teacher trainings, and we do a lot of programs with local community groups. So whether that's going to a family science night or participating in a program at a community center, we sort of have a range of opportunities, of which KidWind is one of our main programs. So what is KidWind? The idea for the KidWind project started in 2003 when Mike Arkwin, who's the founder of it, he was a 6th grade teacher out in California, and he was really frustrated because he wasn't finding the materials that he found useful to teach about wind science in his classroom. So he got a fellowship from Tufts University and $1,000, and the idea for developing some new materials and some new curriculum for teaching about wind was kind of born from there. KidWind has 3 main focus areas. The first is training. So they offer workshops, both online and in-person workshops from a national organization. So you can go on to the KidWind website and find topic-specific workshops. And they've really been doing a lot of virtual workshops for teachers in particular, since the COVID pandemic taught us all that we can really effectively connect online. They also offer kind of a showcase week-long in-person teacher training called the Recharge Academy that happens every summer. And Dick attended the Recharge Academy. I'm not sure what year, Dick, but if you want to say anything about that experience.
Yes, I think the 2 pictures there, the workshop on the left shows you the hand-on training. I attended the one for a week after the first week that I had never heard of KidWind before. I said, well, it must have something to do with, kids and wind power. And they sent me out to Colorado, and we stayed on campus at one of the universities for a week. And this was 5 of the best days of attending things. And that picture is very misleading because when we attended this, we were in a room about this size that was surrounded by tables, and every table was loaded with equipment and hands-on activities. And we spent the days there building and testing and learning all of the hands-on stuff, which really the KidWind program is all about. And so the theory is, just 1/10 of it, and the actual application of it with the equipment and what we use is the 90% of it. So it was really amazing.
We also offer workshops for folks in Wisconsin. Dick loads up his truck and we meet up with teachers sort of wherever they are around the state. We offered 3 in the past year in Madison, Eau Claire, and in Milwaukee to make it easier for teachers in our area to kind of get a toe dip into what is KidWind, get some materials, and be able to take something tangible back to their classroom. So that's sort of the first branch of it. Curriculum and materials is the second branch. So you can see these are just screenshots from the KidWind website. Throughout the years since KidWind has been growing as an organization, they've worked with different partners to develop a wide range of curricula that is all free and available for anybody to download from their website. So there's different options based on age and then also topic. So wind energy allows us to be really multidisciplinary. So there's things about blade design and mechanics, and there's also lessons about what are the environmental impacts of wind and how do we think about siting wind farms and things like that. So it allows us to expand what we want to talk about with the students. And then the third branch is the KidWind Challenge. So that's sort of the flagship event where teams from around the region or for nationals, anyone from around the United States comes together with their small scale wind turbine that they've built. They test it in a wind tunnel, present in front of judges, have some extra activities, and we'll get into that a little bit more about what that looks like in Wisconsin in particular.
I'd say that this picture really spells it out. Being in education long enough to know that the names change, but the activities, what students do and the impact it has to them hasn't. I started as it was a shop teacher, and then we changed it to, industrial technology. It sounded better, but what you see these kids doing in here, they're really connecting. The saying is, if you hear it, you forget it. If you see it, you remember it. If you do it, you understand it. And that's the gold standard for KidWind.
So this map shows where KidWind has been implemented in the United States. I think it says 37 states and reaching over 40,000 students across the country. And actually, just this year, there was a challenge in Mexico. So KidWind is now fully international. So even if there isn't a locally organized challenge in your state, folks can get involved in the competition by competing in an online challenge. And last year they developed a partnership with White Box Learning, which makes a really cool and very sophisticated software where students can plug in different variables and design a wind turbine using the simulation software and then use that to compete in a virtual way. So there's lots of levels and lots of ways for people to get involved in their programming. The goals of the program are really focused on the students' excitement and awareness of wind and renewable energy. So we want students to think about the challenges and the opportunities of renewable energy and the clean energy transition. We want to make sure there's opportunities for students to build and test and explore. And I think that's really the core piece of it, as Dick was saying, that really hands-on, tangible tinkering and learning science by doing. We focus on showcasing careers in related fields. So that's a big part of our challenge day events with some of the extra activities that we plan for that day. And then building the capacity of teachers and coaches, so that might be parents or other active adults, to help understand wind and solar energy and be able to help foster their students' interest. When we present for educators at our workshops, I pull up this slide often to just kind of ground us in why we do what we do. And as the IPCC reports coming out last week and in the past years, it really drives home that this is the decade to deliver in the transition to clean energy sources. So we know that students care about climate change and are interested in having a positive impact on the world with the career that they choose. So this is a really exciting entry point for students to get involved. We can talk about the job growth in this field and how wind and solar technicians and installers are some of the fastest growing jobs in the United States. That's maybe another motivator for teachers who want to make sure they can link to career connections. We can allow for this to be a really interdisciplinary and inquiry-based lens into what's happening in the classroom, so it fits in with a lot of different subjects. And it's exciting to see, we can pull up the MISO map and look at what's in the queue for being developed here in Wisconsin or in our whole network and see how much renewable energy is really being developed and in progress right now. So it's a really exciting time to teach KidWind. There's also a connection at UW-Madison to the WhimWind team, which is a collegiate level team of students who design and build a small scale wind turbine as well. This is sponsored by the Department of Energy, and their national competition actually takes place at the same time and place as the KidWind national competition. So that's another exciting connection. And I think my colleague Scott has reached out to IEEE in the past to perhaps make some connections there and have some mentorship possibilities. So happy to talk about that as well if anyone is interested. So KidWind in Wisconsin, What does it look like? As we mentioned before, we do educators in the summer and the educator workshops in the summer and the fall. We host the KidWind Challenge on campus in late February or early March. And then we support KidWind coaches and teachers and other adults who may be bringing the curriculum to their students year round. And Dick is kind of the champion of that year round support, being able to visit schools or answer questions and give all sorts of advice for teachers who are in the weeds with their students. I'm not really going to go into the full history of KidWind in Wisconsin, but you can see from the timeline that we started very small and we are still growing out our network and still making connections and sharing resources. So one of the things we'll want to talk to you all about is how we might be able to continue to make this accessible and remove burdens for folks around the state who might want to bring this to their students. Let's see. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, so give me a thumbs up maybe if you can hear when I play this video. It's a 2-minute overview of what happens with Wisconsin KidWind.
The KidWind Challenge is a national design celebration that engages students in hands-on learning about renewable energy. Student teams will design and build small-scale wind turbines at home or at school and bring them to events all over the world to measure power output and present in front of expert judges.
It's a really rewarding experience for students who are interested in STEM issues, science, technology, engineering, and math, and also interested in the future of renewable energy. In Wisconsin, the event is held at the Wisconsin Energy Institute, and we bring in students from around the state. And even in the past year, we had a team from Illinois come to the Wisconsin KidWind Challenge.
Teams of 4th through 12th grade students and educators from across the state can participate in the challenge. The top teams from our challenge in Wisconsin can advance to compete in the national competition.
It's a lot more enriching experience than just doing problems on a sheet of paper or on a computer. They really get to see the results of their work by putting together a physical wind turbine. Ultimately, we hope that this will inspire many people to get involved in wind energy, either as a career or just to support renewable energy in general.
We could go on and on about all the skills students gain from participating in KidWind. Engineering and design process, they learn how to test variables, how to design and experiment. They learn about electricity, amps, volts, watts, joules, generators. They learn the science behind wind energy and learn about airfoils and blade design and pitch angles. They get teamwork experiences through the instant challenges and putting together their turbine to prepare for the challenge day. They gain public speaking confidence and the ability to problem solve, and the challenge is a chance to stretch their creativity muscles. Honestly, the student teams blow me away every year with how thoughtful and creative and excited they are about wind energy. The KidWind Challenge is such a joyful event, joyful and hopeful, and I can't wait to see what students will do next. You can find more information about the Wisconsin KidWind Challenge at go.wisc.edu/KidWind.
So that just gives you a little bit of an idea, and I'll kind of walk through some of the main parts of the challenge. You can see here, so we have power output, a design presentation, instant challenges, and career exploration. So the power output, students test their turbines that they have worked on at home or at school. They bring them to the challenge. They have to fit within this 4-foot by 4-foot wind tunnel, and that is 40% of their score. They get 3 tries, and we take the best score, and we measure joules out of joules produced in 30 seconds for that. The biggest part of their score is from their design presentation, so that's 50% of the total score. The students meet in a group with 2 expert judges where they kind of give a 15 to 20 minute presentation overview of how they came up with their design, what their process was like. They show their data logs if they have that. They make a presentation or a poster and answer questions from the judges about how they were thinking about their design process and what they might improve upon. There's instant challenges. So these are up to 2 surprise activities that teams can't prepare for besides generally learning about wind energy. And they are designed to put students' teamwork and problem-solving skills to test. So examples of one, we've got a student in this one, they had a relay race where students put on the equipment that wind turbine technicians might wear when they're climbing up inside of a wind turbine. So they had to learn how to use the lad safe and all these different carabiners and hooks and be able to do that hands-on activity. This year, Dick helped us develop what you're looking at right here, where students are using a gin pole and thinking through all the steps that you would need to do to raise a small scale turbine or a small scale tower. So they had to build a winch and hook up all the different cables, and it was a lot of hands-on mechanical work as well. In addition to these more hands-on ones, we've had ones that kind of ask students to prepare a skit about the reasons why their town should adopt their wind farm and siting considerations that might come into play when they're thinking about placing wind farms on the landscape. And we've had students looking at wind resource maps and drawing connections on that side of things too. So they're different every year. And this might be an opportunity for IEEE members who are interested in getting involved to perhaps help advise or help us create a new instant challenge for the upcoming events. And then the remaining portion of the day is filled with career exploration. So we have different presentations going on throughout the day, from the WhimWind team, which is that college level team, to folks from the technical college. We've got Justin Barrett from Lakeshore Technical College. He worked as a wind turbine technician for several years and now teaches wind energy. So he kind of gives the talk about what the jobs in that area are like. And we had a career panel this past year where we had everything from an HR person for MG&E to a professor in engineering physics, kind of sharing about their different careers in renewable energies. And this is not part of the scored competition, but really to help students start thinking about possibilities and imagining what they might be able to do with their career.
I would add to what Allison said about the instant challenge and where the IEEE could be helpful is that you've got the minds of many engineers in different areas. And so if you know the gist of the problem, we're talking about a 30-minute surprise problem that they have to solve, and you could see the equipment that we prepare for them to do this. So with some imagination and you may come with real practical applications. I mean, in my process of learning how to do this, you cover a ton of stuff. And even from the very important thing, we run this stuff out, we get an idea and then run it by people in the field. And, they say, well, did you call Digger's Hotline? And if you're going to bring this to a school and have students do some hands-on with a teacher that wants to get involved, this is some really powerful educational stuff that covers a lot of bases. The calculations into the loading of the cables and all this can get highly complex, which you guys deal with. And so if we can bring it to the students, this is very valuable.
Yeah, and the students this year, so this image, this turbine raising challenge was part of our event just a couple weeks ago. The students were so excited about it. I had high schoolers coming up to me saying, I would love to bring this to my engineering fair at my high school. They want to share what they're excited about. So it's really cool to see when when the students, they're saying things like, engineering isn't taught like this. This is amazing. It's hands-on. So that can just really, spark an idea, and you don't know what's gonna maybe change in that student's life because of an experience like this. So we do have different divisions in the challenge because it's open 4th grade through 12th grade. The reason it starts in 4th grade is because that's when energy and electricity starts to show up in the next generation science standards, which are sort of a multi-state standardized set of educational standards. So we try to pair the KidWind curriculum to the standards when possible. in order to protect our youngest students from our very intense and very successful older students, we have several divisions by age group and then also separated out by generator class. So it comes with a standard KidWind kit, a little 2-watt generator, and teams are good to go and use that. But if they want to make their own generator or use something else, they can do so. They'll be in an advanced generator division. And then the top 2 teams from middle school and high school from Wisconsin automatically qualify to go to nationals. And you can see some pictures of some of the teams from past years. We just wanted to give you a little taste about what the teams are doing and what that looks like. So we're going to kind of flip through some examples here. So these are pictures from Elkhorn's, their Future Farmers of America, their FFA team competed together. It was their first year. They participated last year during the virtual challenge, and they really wanted to focus on sustainability. So they made all their prototypes out of recycled or recyclable materials, and they used their homeroom to create all of their turbine designs. We have the St. Thomas Trojans. These are actually a team from Crystal Lake, Illinois, as there is no state challenge in Illinois. They focused on their second year. They learned about gear ratios and started switching that out to be able to increase their power output. Dick, do you want to talk about Team Monkey from last year at all?
Interesting. In the coaching aspect, I'm the advisor, but not the coach. So we have to get somebody else that's going to work with the team to take on a lot of the responsibilities of organization. So it's a pretty loosely run thing. And this girl graduated, they had the teams in the middle school, and at high school there was nothing. And so they independently went at it. And this freshman girl's uncle was a trained engineer. And so as the advisor, the neat thing about KidWind is there are very few rules and regulations. You can spend as much money as you can raise on it. You can get as much help as you want on it in building it and designing it. And, but when it comes down, like Allison said, the 40% of the competition is the output of what it does. The other 50% of it has to do with how do you answer questions like, what are your blades made of? How did you construct those? And so the student, the team they have to pay attention. And usually they'll know this as far as if there's a threaded hole, they'll know about a tap drill, they'll know about reading the tap drill chart. When you ask this girl how you made those blades, she talked about the press brake that they used to her uncle is also another uncle is a contractor, and they do siding and that. So that's how they made the blades. And it went on. So they came up with a design to capture the wind with like a shroud, and they butted it right up against the fan blades. It did really well, and some belt slippage, that kind of thing. But those are the creative things that take place, and the engineering really is applied.
We have a team from Mauston High School. This was also their turbine from last year. What stood out to me about this is they said they wanted to take last year, since it was virtual and things were a little different. They're like, this year our focus is on learning new things. And so they decided to, instead of using the 2-watt KidWind generator, to make their own generator using the kit that they got here from KidWind. And then they had to learn about rectifiers from switching from AC to DC. So that was really cool. They showed a lot of just like self-motivation and taking on new topics, and they qualified and placed in the top 5 at nationals.
And there's something for everybody in the team competition. When you look at this picture, and what's going through your mind is you understand AC current, the sine wave, the rectification, all those things. Then you look over just a little on the table. Somebody had to think of, how are they going to mount that base? So somebody came up with cutting a 5-gallon bucket down. They filled that with some plaster of Paris or material. The calculation of the height of the tower so that the blades don't hit the base. There's something for everybody at every level of in the classroom. and everybody helps and throws in their, it's a team effort. And from that, it's successful. If you can have the best turbine, but if it tips over, it's no good. On the other hand, you have the best base, but you don't have anything to produce any electricity. So everybody has a spot on the team, and this is the way it is in the real world.
Mm. And then I wanted to showcase this team from this year's competition, Madison East. It was their first year involved. They started prepping just in January. They decided to make their own generator as well, ended up having some problems designing it in sort of the wrong way, and maybe Dick can speak more to that. But their attitude was so amazing. They were asking tons of questions, really excited to try again next year. And so they were awarded the Spirit of Wisconsin KidWind Award this year, just for showing a really positive attitude, a lot of curiosity, and a lot of excitement about learning more.
And this is where it starts. I mean, when they show some interest in this, and then you just get to pour gasoline on the fire, and they take off. That's what the KidWind does by now giving them some components and some guidance to say, well, you maybe want to wrap this around a little different way. You can read about it or see it on YouTube, but when you actually get to do it, then test it, and you see other students that are doing the same things, you know, it's a collaborative effort.
And this is another example of where perhaps having IEEE members in some sort of network or something could be a huge positive, because their teachers are super busy and only have so many resources and may not be experts in all of the different parts of the turbine development or any of them. We have biology professors or coaches who aren't in sciences at all. And so perhaps having an external expert that the teams could call up and just ask a couple of questions to could be really helpful. And also give them an opportunity to practice some of those other skills and talking to experts and reaching out and formulating questions and bringing information back to their teams. And then I just wanted to give a chance to show you the quilt blockers. Dick, do you want to talk about them at all?
Interesting and again, this was a case where I pitched this to 3 teachers in the junior high and saying, this is a cool thing. And we did a little thing, and after school, they built a small set of blades, and they had a little teacher competition between the 3 of them. And it's interesting how it's fun. And then they start reading the output in joules, and then it's like, well, I can make mine better than that. Well, these, they ended up having 3 teams, probably about 5 6th, 7th, and 8th graders on a team. And these 2 students they had a competition. They had to fill out an application, get a recommendation, your grades, because there were too many students that wanted to get into this new thing, thinking it was going to be a lot of fun. And these 2 folks here, they didn't make the cut, so to speak. And so then when it went to high school, there was nobody to pick up nobody wanted to take on the project with the students and anything. So these 2 students said, yeah, well, we'll do it. And I said, well, come on over to my shop and we'll take and build some blades. And they took off. And the guy that's Zach there has designed and built his own 3D printed planetary gear set. And I'm talking about taking a concept that, you know, as far as people that work with just gear trains, just a single mesh system to get the ratio is one thing, then go to a 2-step, and now let's say in planetary gear. So as a freshman in high school, you know, he starts this stuff out. And I think the KidWind really gives a jump to this, where we're talking about getting 5th and 6th graders to understand gear ratios. Then as 7th and 8th grade, go to, you know, 2-step gear ratios, and then get the planetary gears. And by the time they're in high school, it's very advanced. And most people say, oh, you can't teach those guys that. Well, they want to learn it. They're on their own. I mean, it's a terrific.
Mm.
And if you can be involved in it, being around students like this is a lot of fun. It's very cool.
There are lots of volunteers that come together to make the event in particular take place. At the event just a couple weeks ago, we had over 30 volunteers in and out throughout the day. So we've got volunteers judging those presentations and the instant challenges, speaking on panels, giving career talks, serving as greeters, and kind of helping up with setup and teardown. So there's all different sorts of roles for however people want to be involved. And we are very open to people letting us know that they want to be on the volunteer list for future years. Coaches, what do they do throughout the year? They just make sure their teams are ready to bring a turbine and a presentation to the challenge. There's a huge range of time commitment. Some teams spend 15 hours total preparing their turbines. Some spend over 100, and it just kind of depends on the team and what they want to do. Coaches really support the members, helping them make sure that they're iterating and asking questions, and if they need help purchasing materials, they do that. But coaches don't need to have any content expertise. Dick and I are here to like help the teams overcome challenges, or if they have questions, or if they need a certain material that they can't find, we're here to help with all of that. And then the other main thing that coaches do is they register their teams and make sure that they're the point of contact for communicating with us as we organize the challenge. So that could be another possibility for IEEE members or others that you know who are interested in getting involved with their communities and their schools.
Another example of this is that, again, with the background of the people in this organization, the students in the teams, they come up with problems. And just like anything else, Allison and I are limited in our knowledge and experience. And so one of the things, it's interesting if we can reach out, or if there's somebody there that says, hey, put me down as a resource, as a contact. For example, they have a limit. You cannot produce more than 30 volts and higher than 1 amp of output in the time that they're doing this. And so one of the two guys on my team says, oh, they sell a thing for, voltage limiter. Okay, so we do some research on that, find out, yeah, you can get that. And, on the internet, you can buy this, what is LM316 or 317 types integrated circuit. And the next thing you know, we're breadboarding this thing out and putting it together. So again, it starts out simple and it ramps up to the very complex. But those kind of things that, if you're finding it out on your own, that is a little more difficult than if somebody is right there saying, hey, I know what here, I can guide you. It's being lost and not know it. We think we're on the right track.
And we know that this year in particular has been so hard for teachers, and there's so many extra things that they're juggling. So I wanted to just give you a chance to hear from some of the coaches themselves about why they might participate in this, even though it's yet another extra thing.
It's our first time at this competition, and we're from Mauston, Wisconsin, a small rural school in central Wisconsin. And I'm the head of our science club, and I'm always looking for opportunities to get kids out on campuses specifically. And we have a bunch of kids that are really interested in physics, and it's a great challenge for them to apply some of the things they learned in their physics classes to an actual challenge of making wind turbines. And so today has been awesome. They've had to do a lot of testing and prototyping and critical thinking and fixing and going back. When something breaks, they have to stay on their toes and figure out how to make things better. And then with all the academic challenges too, it's been great to see them kind of pushed in that way as well. Public speaking skills, having to defend your ideas and your research in front of judges is an amazing experience for our young kiddos. We have a lot of freshmen here, and so it's just been a great day.
And one of the things I've seen is that if freshmen come to the competition, those same students return year after year. This is another quote from a KidWind coach who the day after the competition was like, our students, they talked the whole drive home about new ideas and are really excited to get back into the lab and try new things. So sometimes the students just get really hooked. we have had stories of students who've participated in KidWind as high schoolers who have changed what they want to do with their careers and their further education. There's a student from Mauston who was set on being an accountant, and then he participated in KidWind and all of a sudden learned about this whole world of engineering and decided he was going to apply to UW-Madison to become a mechanical engineer, and that's what he's doing right now. He's a freshman in the program. So there is nothing wrong with being an accountant, but we love to see students finding something that may be a better fit for their interests and their skills, and really getting passionate about something and opening doors and opening eyes to new possibilities. So that was a really exciting story to hear. So what's next for us? We are continuing to reach out to new teachers and new communities to bring KidWind into schools and classrooms and community centers around the state. A hope is that we continue to do this, especially in areas where renewable energy is proposed. We continue to plan an annual challenge event, and we have the date set for March 4th for next year. And we're hoping to continue to build out a network of educators and coaches who can connect with each other and share resources and help us all do this with more ease and more success from year to year. So we've hinted at all of these in the past, but I just wanted to lay it out very simply. Opportunities for IEEE involvement are many and varied, and maybe I don't even know them all yet. So coach a team, help us develop an instant challenge. You could sponsor the challenge with your organization, have a display booth. You could help us expand in other states, and in nationals, they do solar challenges at KidWind, so it's not just a wind energy focus. We haven't had the capacity to do that yet in Wisconsin, but maybe that's an area of opportunity. And I put your ideas as a bullet because I just really want to allow for some conversation now for the remaining time for any questions or ideas that you might have for us. So we're looking for feedback of how you all or other colleagues of yours might like to be involved with KidWind, if at all. How might we extend our reach to communities across the state? Where do you see possibilities for us to do that in a good way? And also, how might we secure more funding to support free teacher workshops and the kits and hosting the KidWind Challenge? As KidWind grows, it becomes a little bit more expensive, and we are all about getting resources to teachers for free or very, very low cost, because we don't want to create any extra burdens. So we're finding that we require a little bit more sponsorship than we did the first year. So I think at this point, I'm just going to put this slide up for a minute in case you want to grab our email addresses in our website, and I can put those in the chat as well. And then maybe I'll stop sharing my slide and we can have an opportunity if there's any questions or comments or ideas from you all. I would really love that.
I want to give you a couple examples. I had the opportunity for about 7 years I left education and went to work for Barbara Coleman in Darlington. They set up a DC motor division, subfractional DC motor gearheads. So we hobbed gears and made DC motors from raw stock to finished product. It was amazing. And the things about that, as far as the equipment that we had, and if an educator called me and said, gee, do you have any scrap little DC motors with the gearheads, which I know as an educator, those are kind of handy to have for kits. And those are hard to get. Well, if they called the wrong person, they got the runaround. If they got a hold of me, I'd send them a whole box full of those things. We were throwing stuff out that was, couldn't sell it to the customer, but it was functional and had all the parts by the barrel full. So you guys that work in industry and that have these things, I'm talking to my friends over coffee on this stuff about wind tunnels and the testing we do. And one of the guys is big and he checks Craigslist a lot. He ends up finding a lab volt wind tunnel that a guy's selling that was used out of the school discarded it, got over. The thing was valued. It's $5,000 for a lab volt wind tunnel, and we got it for like 800. We're looking for a dynamometer that we used at Barbara Coleman that you could load test motors to find out as the torque changed with the addition of the voltage and the amperage, how much they drew. So you guys may know people or have people, but as a source, and I'm trying to network this as best we can, because like Allison says, and I know this as a teacher, it's a difficult job in the first place, and the amount of money that that they give you to spend on a project or in a class is ridiculous. And so if we can get these things and get them in the hands of teachers that'll put them to use with their students, we're trying to pitch this as this is a worthwhile thing that students take and they run with it. Another thing, and just my last comment will be that thinking about people that you hire or that you work with, if you had a coworker, you know what you would want. And it's amazing. Sometimes you ask people and they say, well, I want them to be on time and have a good attitude. And KidWind takes a different approach to it. When they're successful at this, the only way you can be successful is to be on time and have a good attitude, work hard. And in all cases, the students that I've worked with and seen coming to these events are like that. They come early, they work hard, they stay late. I mean, you have to take and shut the lights off and lock the doors and say, we got to quit. They're there on the weekends, they're there after school, they're there during the, their time off, because these things are not in the curriculum. They're extra added events. And the only thing I say could make this go better if it had a ball associated with it. So it's it's not an athletic thing, but boy, I'll tell you, it gets them going. So maybe you got some ideas of where you could be helpful or spread the word.
This is Tom Kalinsky. One of the things I taught at the Technical College here in Madison, and we worked with the solar energy group on campus, Sandy Klein in particular. I think he's now retired, but we had some solar thermal arrays that had to be tested, and his graduate students put together all the test procedures and did the calculations, and my hands-on mechanics in the industrial maintenance department actually built the arrays and ran the tests and did the data collection and stuff, and that was a lot of fun to do it. The project-oriented stuff, in my view, was always the most fun class, and it was always the thing I think students enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
In terms of what IEEE can do, we do have, I think our second largest society is actually in Power and Energy Society, and in terms of members locally. Pretty much all the power companies are representing their headquarters here locally. So I didn't see too many of them on the list, though. But I think what we'll do is make sure that we review this, send the radio links out too, and see if we can hook some of those people, because I'm sure they have public information campaigns as well as part of it. It would look quite good. So the other thing we got, IEEE Madison got involved in 3 summers ago, before just the year before the pandemic hit. We had the Future Energy Challenge competition on campus in the middle of the summer. That was to design a bike controller. This was the controller that went between the motor and the battery. So student groups are all around the world competed. This is at the collegiate level. And we had, I think, 6 teams came to Madison from all around the world. And they actually did a race out there on the quad in front of Engineering Hall, and they used the makerspace over in what used to be Went Engineering Library to do testing and repair and stuff. And everybody who got involved in that from IEEE locally really enjoyed it. It was fun. So I think we have the people who will do it. The question is how we get to them. So.
How was that challenge located at Madison? Is it run by IEEE, the Future of Energy Challenge?
Yeah, Future Energy Challenge was run by a few of the societies, the Power and Energy Society, the Industry Application Society, I think the Power Electronics Society. They all were involved in it. And I got to say that from what, there was social events, there were dinners, there was a design presentation, and there were a number of steps they had to go through, the final of which they got to run their controller on a bike, and they actually raced. So they had team members, took turns doing it too. And it was a lot of fun. The teams went from everything. There was a Eastern European team that came in. I can't remember what country they were from. They had about 18 people, all dressed the same. Everybody knew, that they had the team song and everything, down to 2 or 3 hand ragtag bunch from Columbia, one of the universities in New York. But everybody who participated had fun. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, there's something about the energy of events like that.
Yeah, it's that's kind of thing. It's fun. The solar thermal and the solar PV, that's a little less designed. I could see where this solar energy challenge would be less of interest. It's really electronics and putting it together for placement. Nothing moves. It's just
Right.
home. There it is. The solar thermal stuff. I always thought that we tested both the flat panel and the evacuated tube ones. The evacuated tubes boil water very quickly. I think they get up in the 400-degree Fahrenheit range. They get pretty hot. I think those would be fun to do a solar oven for the developing world. It's a challenge to do that as an alternate. But I can certainly see where wind turbines and mechanical stuff, there's all sorts of design, fun for kids there. You don't find in those other two fields.
Right. There's just so many different parts and pieces with the wind turbine and the solar. I think for the states that do include the solar challenge in their event, it's like build a solar structure, and it's a little more free form and, sort of qualitative with like maybe what the solar circuit lights up or what it accomplishes and does, and then they just kind of have to like draw their circuit and bring their papers, and it's a little maybe less quantitative with like the power output that the wind turbine is or that sort of thing. So
I think another thing to put in here is that, yes, you're a very large organization and you've been around a while. And I look back going into the 70s with Mother Earth News was the first, home brewed sort of a thing where people were talking about that. Then Home Power Magazine. And unfortunately, after about 35, 40 years now, they've discontinued. But that was the Bible for home brewed, all renewable energy type things. And then to think that in Wisconsin here, we have the Midwest Renewable Energy Association. At the time when that started out, there were only 2 out in California, and then here you've got it in this state. And so what I'm saying is that KidWind, we don't want to keep this a secret. that I want to see this be on the banner of knowledge, so people say, "Oh yeah, I know what KidWind is. I've heard of it. I've seen it. That does some great stuff." And if we can get that going, if you guys are, can get the word out, help us along with that, we'll live up to those expectations. I'm quite sure of that.
Well, in terms of what I do, I'm the newsletter editor. I also have connections to the regional distribution to run management for IEEE region. So I'll work on getting this video published and to write a little of it that'll go around. One of the things the region is investing a lot of money in right now are science kits. It's called SCIPL, science kits for public libraries. The way they approach it is they actually have grant process. They go to public libraries and they say, we will grant money. You have to write a proposal to us. We'll fund the first phase of it, and then we'll give you some time, and then you write a proposal saying how well things went, and then we'll finish the payment. The payments aren't a lot. They're on the order of about $2,000. Chuck, is that your recall for what the SCIPL programs are? There's something on that order for a library. But that would be an interesting possibility as a way to fund it too, would be this, to make that group also look at funding projects like this. I mean, it's part of the goal for STEM. IEEE does have a whole STEM outreach program, and that's one of the areas we work on. But that's the most visible in this region is the science kit for public libraries.
Okay.
How long has that program been going on?
It's growing in size. I'd say it's less than 5 years.
Okay.
That's my guess. But it's growing in size. I think the budget this year is about $25,000 that's for Region 4, which is pretty much the Midwestern states around Chicago.
Yeah, well, it
Michigan,
started,
Indiana,
in
Wisconsin.
Chicago, I think.
Yeah, the Chicago section is one of the sections that did it. Yeah.
Thanks for the link in the chat there. Yeah, I mean, some teachers, like we've partnered with other sort of community organizations, like in Eau Claire, the Pablo Center is sort of an arts center, but they do STEM and youth programming as well. And so they held a workshop. They brought in teachers that they knew from their network, and then also have some resources on hand that teachers can loan out. So I imagine libraries and communities could be resources for that too. So one teacher doesn't need to get all the materials. They can use this kit that the library might have. Could be really cool.
Yeah, the thing on campus, of course, on UW, the Women in Engineering, they're pretty active at doing things too. We have had some success with the IEEE student branch. A couple of years ago, we funded some things where they would build components, et cetera, and help them with it. They actually built a bunch of drones and flew them back when drones were a new thing. Now everybody's doing it. So those are fun projects, but you have to find a student leader who says, yeah, I want to do this. But I like the fact that the students are young and are connected with these high school and middle schools. Old gray-haired guy like me, I can sit there and look like the wise old guy, but I can't relate to what's going on. So, Dick, you seem to be doing pretty well at that, though, I got to say.
All you got to do is say, when they come up with an idea, you say, that's good, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then they teach us
Yeah.
things too, right? Like they're learning how to do the 3D printing and teaching you, right, Dick?
Oh, I had not done any 3D printing. And I was a dinosaur that kind of like when they came out with CAD drawing, I thought, wow, this is a lot of work. I could draft a blueprint up a lot faster than that. But then once you come along and realize what the technology has to offer, I mean, it's right there. So the student, the one, Zach, who's doing the 3D printing, I said, well, set me up here. So between him and the tech teacher, they list out all the stuff for the computer, the printer, the everything you need. I mean, it would have taken me hours to research that, and then you'd not know what you're doing. And so now I'm printing out gears and working on planetary gears, printing the same stuff within, a matter of a couple of months. You couldn't get that type of education. If you took a semester class on something, it would be crazy. And so this is a shortcut to that type of stuff. And like I say, these students that are engaged in it and continue on are going to really be some valuable resources and employees if they go on in school or if they go right into the workforce. I mean, they have a work ethic, they have the good skills and knowledge, and they can cross from one technology to the next. I mean, this covers, if you're going to raise that gin pole and you're going to do your own lifting, you better do some research on the cables and the winch and the capacity and the soil so that you know that it can handle the load, or you're going to be in big trouble. And so they understand that. And then, certainly they will reach out, but it's an excellent starting program. Gets them going in the right direction.
Another resource that you might think about are the maker spaces in Madison. Are you familiar with those at all?
I've heard of it. One of the fellows that rode his recumbent bicycle all the way up to MREA is in Madison. and I forget the guy's name, but I did some work with him to try to develop a high-speed wind tunnel. But yes,
Yeah, so that guy is associated with, or is a member of Sector 67.
okay.
The guy you're talking about, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember his name either, but I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
And
he's the one who rode. He often rode his recumbent bike, his fairings and recumbent bike over in the 67 too. The 67 is one. The other one is the Baudry over in the near the airport in old Oscar Mayer place. There's a place there as well too. That
What
would
is
be a
that
good
second
place,
one
Allison,
called?
for making the Baudry, Bodgery. It's it was given some public funding to use the space at the slow building at the Oscar Mayer site. Those are two of the ones that I think are most prominent. Chuck, do you know of others here in Madison?
no, those two are the only ones I know about.
Okay.
And well, of course,
Yeah, but it
there's
would be
the
good,
one on the
Allison,
campus.
to make a present. Yeah, right. The one on campus is wonderful. Really, that's a great space. One of my good friends, an IEEE member too. Actually, he signs up to take classes in engineering so he can use that maker space. but the director recruited him to actually help, and he's now giving classes and helping in the educational outreach too. But yeah, there's I think it would behoove you to make a presentation with at those two places.
Yeah.
And because they have an active community who are doing lots of fun things, And
For sure.
I know
It's
that the Sector 67 does a lot of stuff with East High students. So.
Oh, that would be awesome because East was one of the new schools this year, and I bet they would love to connect with some community
And
experts.
is there engineering club active then at East High?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
It was the engineering club that came to the
Yeah.
challenge. I'm not sure if they had been active in past years. I think COVID gave them a little hit, so we kind of just fell into their laps at the right time where the students really wanted a project to work on.
yeah. Several years ago, I was with Sector 67, and they they had a fair at the high school of some kind, and they invited people from the outside to come in, and I went over there kind of on the coattails of Sector 67, and then there's an alumni of East High who was a fellow, a life fellow of the IEEE, and he seems like he's pretty busy with other things, but he was at that fair at that East High.
Mm.
Who was that, Chuck?
Ken Connor.
I didn't know Ken. Yeah. Good.
Say that again?
I don't know him. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, he hasn't been to meetings. He's participated in some things with the Science Museum. I met him at East High and got in touch with him. And he's from Rensselaer Polytech. He's a Madison native, but and I don't know if he was. I don't think he went to UW at all. I think he was educated completely in Rensselaer
Yeah,
Polytech.
I went to Whoopie Tech, which was one of the competing schools to Rensselaer up in Massachusetts. There in the we used to be the low-level football teams. We would be the ones who were lowest in that whole league. So. Okay, Trevor. Trevor just left. I was going to ask Trevor if he had any comments. Oh well.
If he has any, feel free to put him in contact with us or send him our way. This reminds me, while we're talking like local schools, there's a parent of some students at Spring Harbor Middle School, so they would go up to Memorial High School, who really wants their students to be involved in KidWind, but can't find a teacher to coach them. And so that might be another opportunity if there's anyone from the society who would want to be a coach or a co-coach with this parent. That would be a possibility. I could connect those folks together as well.
Yeah, that, you know, you could find somebody, one of the members at Sector 67 or the advisory possibly would be willing to want to be involved in that.
Okay.
At Sector
I think they have
67,
access to resources, yeah.
yeah, the at Sector 67, Chris Meyer, the manager over there,
Uh-huh.
is involved with FIRST Robotics. And so they, Sector 67, I'm not sure what all they do, if they sponsor a team or if they're a resource for the competitions.
Okay.
I kind of have a feeling that they go to competitions and then serve as a resource for all the teams.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but
That'd
that
be-
would,
Provided machine tools and stuff for, they'll show up with a portable machine shop to help students who are dealing with the robotic competition. So
That's cool.
they've loaded all that on a truck, so.
I think Nick Hine was the name of the guy we were trying to think of with the recumbent.
bicyclists, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep. I mean, but there's a guy, you know, again, as a resource for a team or somebody that would work. Most of the teams are, it's pretty self-guided. They choose pretty much what they're doing. So it's not a prescriptive sort of a thing where there's a curriculum that you're teaching or anything. It's like, hey, we're going to build a wind turbine here. What do you want to do? And we get it started, you know, you can go from scratch, or KidWind has a lot of stuff, you know, the hub and the blades and cardboard and sticks and that kind of stuff, a little generator, you know, that you can get going with. But then it can take off into the thing, like you say, where they're starting to engineer stuff. And, you know, everything that goes into that. And with a little help and resource, somebody that's interested and wants to spend the time. And then, like you say, if they have this, if they meet at this 67 place, you know, that would be great. You know,
I think Hine is an aeronautical engineer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We were looking at we wanted to make a wind tunnel that could get up variable speed, so that we're always trying to change up the thing. We one year put a yaw system where in the wind tunnel right now, we build a 4-foot square cube that you saw there with a barn fan, 42-inch barn fan on the back end. We draw the air in to get about maybe say 4 meters per second of wind speed. And we'd like to be able to get that up to say 20 to 30 meters. So we could dial it in, but those things are quite expensive. There's a lot of things, but you know, that would be the goal. So you could make students have to test them at different wind velocities. And the yaw system was a new twist to it. So they now normally they're fixed, just position it, anchor it down, turn the wind on, see what it does, how do the blades and the generator work. But then you add to it, now we're going to turn it 90 degrees. So that's a whole new twist to come up with a yaw system. And the growth of this is to put the electronics in it so that you could make it more read output for it, as far as what's the wind velocity, duplicate a lot of the things that the actual wind turbines have in the technology. So there's plenty of growth opportunities.
Well, I guess we probably should wrap it up.
Thanks for the conversation and your ideas.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks for your time too. And if you can send me a copy of your, if you want, I will put a link to those in the email and distribute it in the Region 4 too. So
Yeah,
that'll be
absolutely.
available.
Tom, I'm not sure that I have your email. Maybe you were copied on one of the emails.
We've been in a few conversations. Chuck
Okay.
sent stuff and CC'd
Okay,
me. Yeah, I'm in
I'll
there.
find
So,
it.
I'll check out the
yeah,
thing on the
it's not,
library.
send it to Chuck and he'll get it to me.
Okay.
We frequently communicate, so.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thanks
Thanks
again for your time. This is a great presentation. I wish more people had showed up, but hopefully we'll get the video done. And Chuck, don't forget to stop the video now too.
All right.
Well, after
Thanks,
they read your
everybody.
publication, we'll get a command performance.